Hey guys, it's Appleminte. Welcome back again to my channel. So for today's video, I wanted to show you guys a little bit of the behind the scenes in terms of my newer digital piece that I did, which really is a personal drawing. But before we get into that, I'd like to take a moment to thank today's video sponsor, Door Inner Child. Door Inner Child is a game where the player will take a trip to heal the mysterious and beautiful world of the soul. It features vibrant colors, perspective, and play. Each stage's visuals are based on an emotion, containing unique graphics that help the player to feel this emotion as well. The platformer type gameplay allows the player to overcome the puzzles and obstacles within each stage, and there's a lot to discover. Door Inner Child was created by a single developer, and it has been in development from concept design to prototype for about 2 to 3 years. It's won several awards, some including the Indie Prize finalist at the Tokyo Game Show in 2019 and the Best Innovation Top 3 at Unity Korea. You can find the game on Steam using the link in my description box below. So thank you again to Door Inner Child for sponsoring today's video. So before I talk about the drawing, everybody always asks what drawing program I use, and I have an iPad, I think 11 Pro. I got it almost 2 years ago now, actually. I bought it in February of 2019, and I use Procreate on my iPad. It was like 10 bucks on the iPad, and I think it was one of the best purchases I've ever made. And a lot of people ask me for tips or, my take on what drawing program to use, and I think there are a lot of good ones. Definitely Clip Studio Paint is good if you want to pay for it. They always have some free trials though, so if you'd like to try it out and get a feel for it, it's definitely a really good program. For me, I use Procreate a lot on my iPad, but there's also a lot of good free software like Medibang Paint and things like that, IDAS Paint. So yeah, in terms of what kind of software I use, this drawing particularly is done in Procreate. And at the beginning of the video, you might have seen me sketching a bunch of different hands and like playing with this pose quite a bit, because this wasn't originally going to be Star Guardian Nico, which is the subject for my drawing today. And Nico is my favorite character from League of Legends, if you're familiar with her, and the Star Guardian skin is my current favorite skin of hers. So that's why I wanted to draw it. But I wasn't originally drawing her. I was gonna go, I don't know where I was gonna go with this, maybe some kind of like demon girl or something like that. This was just going to be practice for different poses and things like that. So I didn't really have a specific idea when I was starting off this drawing. But as I was going, I was like, maybe I could turn this into fan art of something, and I have been playing a lot of Nico lately and always, so I just was inspired to draw her because every time I sit down to do Nico fan art, I'm never that happy with it, and I never did a Star Guardian one, which, again, if you don't know League of Legends, Star Guardian is like the magical girl skin line of the universe, if you want to call it that. Kind of like the Sailor Moon girls, you know, they all have their like little magical girl outfits and things like that. And anyway, I was drawing on all of the details. I tend to do multiple layers when I do sketches or drawings in digital programs. So I will usually do a really basic sketch of the pose underneath. And then on top of that, I'll do another sketch, which is what you're seeing right now in this purple color. And that's just so I can draw out the actual details of what's going to be in my drawing. It's not the final line art, but it's to add all the details on top of the pose. And then once I'm done with the lines for this sketch phase, then I move on to the actual line art. And I feel like my digital art skills are decent, but they're not exactly what I want them to be. So I'm always trying to improve them by watching different tutorials on different techniques, or just try different poses or different coloring and blending techniques that I wouldn't normally try. And so I will get more into that when I actually go into the shading later. But once I had this pose done, I liked it, but then I realized, I didn't really think that it fit the drawing anymore. It would have fit a different character maybe, but Nico's not really like the kind of character that would get on her knees and pose on the floor. I don't know, it just didn't look right. And also I just didn't like the proportion of the legs in the sketch. It just didn't feel right. So I decided to change the legs and make her standing and just do a complete full body like drawing that way rather than her kneeling. And I'm happy with that change. I also just really love drawing legs in general, so this one was a little bit more fun to do. And so now I was getting into the line art for this drawing. And for line art, again, a lot of people ask me about the brushes that I use in Procreate. And I don't really have a specific answer for that because a lot of the brushes that I currently use are the stock brushes that came with the program, like the technical brush, for example. And I play around with their settings a little bit, so I don't really know what changed about my brush that I use versus how it came when I got Procreate 2 years ago. But I've also downloaded and purchased brushes from various artists. I do have a set of brushes from the artist Loish. I can't remember if it was free or not. I'm pretty sure it was a free set of just like 6 basic ones that she had. And I used that for line art and for shading. However, I've changed those up a little bit to my liking. I've played with the settings. So it's really hard to give an answer as to what kind of brushes I use. I can't really point you specifically at the exact thing I'm using in that moment, but I would say if you're curious about brushes for Procreate and you want some new ones that are not the stock ones that came with the program, definitely look into the brushes by Loish. I also use some brushes by the artist Viori. I believe I purchased those off her Gumroad page. Gumroad is a website where you can purchase digital drawing tools like different kinds of brushes or textures and things like that. So definitely look into sites like that if you're looking for more brushes. And I would always say that, you know, there's a lot of good free brushes out there, but as I've gotten older and I've got some money to spend, I enjoy supporting other artists. You know, as a teenager in high school, I was always looking, you know, how can I get XYZ for free? And there's nothing wrong with free, but you know, now that I have the money to be able to support other artists, I definitely want to, because they put their time and work into their brushes, into their assets, and whatever else, you know, they're putting out there on the internet. So some of those websites even just let you do like a donation of like $1 or something. So I would always say it's a good idea to support your artists online. They gotta make a buck too, you know. But anyway, back to the drawing portion here. So you'll notice that I am doing some coloring on her skin, and Nico has different markings because she's a chameleon, or she's part chameleon, I guess. And so she's got these like painted on markings on her body, and normally in the base way she actually looks, she's got a lot more greens covering her entire body, whereas in this skin she's a little bit more human-like, and she's got pale skin but green markings on top of that pale skin. So that was a really fun part of this for me, was to do the markings, because especially like the little butterfly and stuff on her leg and her arm. And you'll notice on the bottom right corner I have little references popping up every now and then, and that's mostly because I'm just pulling colors from them so I can get the exact colors that are used in her design. And also I'm just using them as references for where to place the colors. And you know, this drawing has a lot of detail in it, and the colors are something that I don't normally put together. Like, I don't typically color with greens in general. I think I've said this before, I have a million green Copic markers and markers in general. I just never use them. And so in this drawing, I mean, I know it's digital and I have access to all the colors, but I still never use green, really, relative to all the other colors I have, or all the other colors that exist. So doing this green with like a peachy, salmon-y color and then oranges and yellows is definitely not usually my cup of tea, but I think they really work on her design in general because, I don't know, everything looks very bright and happy. But you'll notice that I'm shading the hair here, and some little portions might be harder to see just because this is, you know, a larger scale artwork, so some of the details are a little small. But the hair I fully shaded, and then I just ended up really not liking what was happening, and I wanted to try a different technique, so I got rid of all of the shading that I did, and then I started over with it. And I left that in the video just because I wanted you to see one process that I used, or one method that I used, and then I didn't like it, and then I changed it. So you could kind of see the difference between those. And I don't really know, I guess I didn't like the first one because it felt too airbrushy, and I wanted something that felt a little bit more, I guess not fully cel shaded, but I did do a little bit more of the harsh, like lines and stuff like that. Things are not as blendy in her hair, but that's something that I want to practice more, is doing some more painty hair shading, particularly. Like, I can do it with the skin, I can do it with clothing, but when it comes to hair, I'm always changing my style on how I shade digital hair specifically, because I just find it, I don't know, hard for me to shade digitally for hair. With marker in person, I don't find it difficult at all, and I don't know why it's so hard for me digitally, and I've just not been able to find something that I really love. I mean, I have something I tend to fall back on, but I can't say that I really, really love it. So I'm always practicing there and always trying to get better, which I think everybody should do that kind of thing. You know, don't ever, if you don't like the way you're doing something, don't just settle for it. Try to find tutorials or something to teach yourself a new skill or a new technique, and then you might develop it differently. I don't know. So now I'm just getting into doing some of the smaller details, like some of the shading on the outfit and some of the shading on the tiny little golden pieces all over her. And again, I apologize if some of those things are a little hard to see. Zooming in sometimes pixelates it a little bit, but I hope you can see decently at least. And another way to add a lot of variation, or I guess make your drawing more interesting to look at, is to add gradients within the shading. So for example, on the skirt, it's an orange skirt, but I added a little golden gradient to the bottom. And I did the same thing for the bow, the ribbon on her chest. I had the green fading out to like a yellowy green at the top. So I think that just adding a slight gradient, even if it's not in the original art, is always a good idea, because it always adds just a little bit of a nice touch. Anyway, I think I'm finished rambling for now. I realize I can talk a lot. I'm looking at the time here and it says I've been talking for 12 minutes straight. So, you know, by the time this is all edited, I don't know how long it'll actually be, but I've been talking for a long time and I haven't run out of things to say. So I'm gonna start wrapping it up. But anyway, thank you as always for watching my videos, guys. The past two that I've done have been getting a lot of attention, so I appreciate you guys watching my videos and sharing my content. And as always, I have all of my links in the description box below. The link to my online store, my Patreon monthly pin club, my Instagram, and my 13+ Discord server. So please check all of those out if you like my art and you like what I do. And I really hope you enjoyed today's video and today's drawing. Miko's my favorite character, like I said, so I had to do her some justice and make a nice piece for her. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all next Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. As always, have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.